right, good afternoon, everybody.
I strongly disagree with the court's decision here. So today, I want to assure our students, our borrowers, and families across America, our fight is not over. We're taking action. We're going to open up an alternative path to debt relief for as many borrowers as possible, as quickly as possible. While we acknowledge the court's decision, we began the negotiated rulemaking process on settlement and compromise authority today. More information on the new regulations will come out shortly. Number two, today, we are rolling out the most affordable income-driven repayment plan ever. This new plan is called Saving on a Valuable Education, SAVE. It'll cut monthly payments in half for all undergraduate loans. It'll cut payments to $0 for millions of people making less than $33,000 a year. All other borrowers will save at least $1,000 per year. This plan will stop runaway interest, and it's not going to require you to pay more than you can afford. And number three, as the President mentioned, we're creating an on-ramp for repayment for up to 1 year for those who need it. This means, although interest will accrue starting September 1st and payments are due starting in October, we'll help borrowers who are struggling to make payments avoid harsh financial consequences such as delinquencies and wage garnishment. So this on-ramp is not a loan pause. It is a process through which we're going to support our borrowers by not sending information to credit agencies if they're missing a payment. But we're encouraging payment to be made, and interest will be accruing in the process.
We are taking action on multiple fronts to help them in light of the Supreme Court opinion today. There's the 12-month on-ramp to repayment, which is going to be a real benefit to borrowers who may be having trouble getting started again on their repayments and who may have to skip a payment or two because they need to get their financial situation together. Previously, they may have been put into delinquency or default or seen a negative mark on their credit report. We're going to make sure that doesn't happen for the first 12 months. So that's a real benefit to those borrowers. And as the Secretary said, and I don't want people sleeping on this, this income-based repayment plan that we're rolling out today that was finalized is a huge deal. It is going to save the typical borrower $1,000 a year on their loan repayments. Somebody who is making $50,000, $60,000 a year is going to see a substantial savings and may even end up paying $0 in their monthly payment because of this new program.
But the bottom line is the President is going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to fight. Higher education should be accessible to more people, and that's what we're going to be fighting for. Thank you.
And it's a sad day. It's a sad day for a lot of people. A lot of people that went through a pretty predatory higher education. I would really love it. I would love it to address more than forgiveness. I think forgiving things without fixing the foundational problems, you're just going to end up right back here in 20 years. But I do think that this is a large swath of the population, and it's a large swath of the population that was really told, get a degree. This is like how you move forward. And I can't count the number of times when I first graduated and it was the recession that the requirements for some of the most basic jobs suddenly became know everything and have every degree. And this whole like American dream of like you just try really hard and you get there isn't really the way it works. And I think a lot of kids realize that too.
Okay, great.
I'm Mark Sherman. I cover the Supreme Court for the Associated Press. The Supreme Court today rejected President Biden's $400 billion plan to forgive student loans for roughly 43 million Americans. The court voted 6-3 with its conservatives in the majority in ruling that the administration overstepped its authority when it sought to reduce student loan debt.
There you go, Mr. Secretary. Let me begin by saying I know there are millions of Americans in this country.
The president announced his plan last August, and it was quickly challenged in federal court. The Supreme Court decision today was written by Chief Justice John Roberts, who said that the administration didn't have the authority, without Congress specifically saying it did, to wipe away so much student debt. He noted that 20 million people would have had their debt completely erased. The plan would have erased up to $10,000 of debt for most people and up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients. There were some income limits in the plan. The administration based its plan on a federal law passed in 2003 known as the HEROES Act. It was initially passed really to make sure that service members fighting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan weren't essentially financially harmed by their military service. The Biden administration said that the pandemic gave it the authority, and said the law said it did, to have a broad loan forgiveness program. Chief Justice John Roberts said a 2003 federal law that the administration relied on was not enough. Justice Elena Kagan wrote a dissenting opinion for the court's 3 liberal justices in which she said the court had taken upon itself the authority that really belonged to the administration and Congress. She said that that 2003 law known as the HEROES Act provided enough authority for the administration to act as it did. Student loan payments will resume in October under the debt ceiling agreement that was reached earlier this year.
The story of student debt bars is real and it's necessary. Because the party of the people won't stop. Ain't no party like the party of the people. Period. Next.
Hello, folks. There you go, Mr. Secretary. Let me begin by saying I know there are millions of Americans in this country who feel disappointed and discouraged, or even a little bit angry about the court's decision today on student debt. And I must admit I do too. We're not going to waste any time on this. We're getting moving on it. It's going to take longer. Come on. The hypocrisy is stunning. You can't help a family making 75 grand a year, but you can help a millionaire and you have your debt forgiven? My plan would not only have been life-changing for millions of Americans, it would have been good for the American economy. And that's income after you pay for the necessities like housing, food, and the like. For Republicans in Congress, it's not about reducing the deficit. It's not about fairness in forgiving loans. It's only about forgiving loans they have to pay. Today, the Supreme Court sided with them. I believe the court's decision to strike down my student debt relief program was a mistake, was wrong. I'm not going to stop fighting to deliver borrowers what they need, particularly those at the bottom end of the economic scale. So we need to find a new way, and we're moving as fast as we can. First, I'm announcing today a new path consistent with today's ruling to provide student debt relief to as many borrowers as possible, as quickly as possible. We will ground this new approach in a different law than my original plan, the so-called Higher Education Act. That will allow Secretary Cardona, who's with me today, to compromise, waive, or release loans under certain circumstances. This new path is legally sound. It's going to take longer, but in my view, it's the best path that remains to providing for as many borrowers as possible with debt relief. I've directed my team to move as quickly as possible under the law. Just moments ago, Secretary Cardona took the first step to initiate that new approach. We're not going to waste any time on this. We're getting moving on it. It's going to take longer, but we're getting at it right away. Second, we know what many borrowers will need to make their hard choices, which their budgets are being strained now when they start to repay their monthly loan payments this fall. You know, we know that figuring out how to pay these added expenses can take time for borrowers, and they might miss payments at the front end as they get back into repayment. Normally, this could lead borrowers to fall into delinquency and default. But without their it will hurt their financial security, and that's not good for them or the economy. That's why we're creating a temporary 12-month, what we're calling on-ramp repayment program. Now, this is not the same as a student loan pause. It's been in effect for the past 3 years. Monthly payments will be due. Bills will not go out, and interest will be accruing. And during this period, if you can pay your monthly bills, you should. But if you cannot, if you miss payments, this on-ramp will temporarily remove the threat of default or having your credit harmed, which can hurt borrowers for years to come. Because the Department of Education won't refer borrowers. And the reason why that will work, they won't refer borrowers who miss payments to credit agencies for 12 months to give them a chance to get back up and running. It's good for the economy. It's good for the country. It's going to be good for you. That's what the program was before, but we've just reduced it to 5%. In addition to that, last year I announced my student debt relief plan, the plan that was on the verge of providing more than 40 million Americans with real debt relief. I hear this. And I'm concerned about it, but today's decision has closed one path. Now we're going to pursue another. I'm never going to stop fighting for you. We'll use every tool at our disposal to get you the student debt relief you need and reach your dreams. It's good for the economy. It's good for the country. It's going to be good for you. Thank you very, very much for listening. We're going to get this done, God willing. Thank you.
Mr. President, why did you give millions of borrowers false hope? You've doubted your own authority here in the past.
I didn't give any false hope. The question was whether or not I would do even more than was requested. What I did, I thought was appropriate and was able to be done and would get done. I didn't give borrowers false hope, but the Republicans snatched away the hope that they were given, and it's real hope. Thank you.
Mr. President, will you cancel student debt?
Your authority. Did you overstep your authority?
I think the court misinterpreted the Constitution.
Mr. President, do you admit failure in Afghanistan?